The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade.
Welcome to The Unfiltered by Jade, where we get out of the box and dive into topics that are sidelined. I look forward to entertain, educate, and inspire. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget. Welcome back to The Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here a special guest. His name is Mark Stephen Porro, and today we're going to be speaking about his book, A Cup of Tea on the Commode. Now, I've read this book and I've had a few chuckles, some laugh, because how he weaves his story with humor is quite entertaining. Mark is a award-winning designer, a writer, a director, a best-selling award-winning author. And we're here today to speak with him about the book. So, hi, Mark. How are you?
Hi, Jade. How you doing? So I'm coming in from the south of France, which is...
You are from France.
Well, I live in France, so I'm an American living in France. So I tell people I'm suffering in the south of France.
You're not suffering at all. You're enjoying yourself over there. I want us to jump into it in terms of your book. So we're going to touch on some of the chapters because I want us to touch on it, not necessarily dive into everything because I want people to go and purchase the book. It's a really nice book, right?
Right.
And it's interesting from a man's perspective, especially when it comes on to certain things that you did. It's kind of rare to see men do it. So, I mean, it's quite interesting. So first, we want to talk about Mum's the Word. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that was a phrase that I grew up hearing in our family when anything uncomfortable came up. And so I guess anything that anybody didn't want to talk about, they just said, Mum's the word. And so we knew to not inquire too much after that. I became pretty curious about family history and things like that. So I dug probably a little deeper than maybe some of my other siblings or other family members did. And so I got to some pretty good stories. And so I wanted to put them in the book because a couple of the really important ones surrounded my mother, and so it played an important role in our relationship, and I think it played an important role in her personality and how she grew up.
I want to talk about planting a seed.
Well, planting a seed was, I think, almost a catalyst for me. Certain things that I witnessed or I partook in that I think kind of had a big impact on my personality, and I think paid dividends in the actions I took in caring for my mom later in life. So those were very important. There were a couple really important ones that one happened when I was around 11 years old. And I grew up with 5 siblings. And so I describe in that particular incident where it was easy to be pretty selfish when you're battling with 5 other kids for attention, and snacks and the best piece of meat and things like that. And so one Christmas, my brother said, we're going to do something different instead of just worrying about our own gifts. And he was great. I call him my brother Teresa because he has a really good heart. And sometimes I think he gives people who don't deserve it too many chances. And that's something that I don't do. I love him for that. He's able to do that. So one Christmas, he said, we're going to go out and we're going to buy 100 oranges and we're going to go visit old age homes and give oranges out to people who don't have family members who will visit them on Christmas Day. And that had such an impact. I certainly wasn't that excited about it in the beginning because we just want to dig into our own gifts and stuff. But it was amazing. The reactions of these lonely people
Right.
who had no visitors, and they just loved having young people there, first of all. But boy, these oranges, they were like, I say they were like the three kings delivering frankincense,
Right.
gold, and myrrh. They
Hmm.
just, it was fantastic. So that had a huge impact on me about becoming a giver. And it's more important to give than to receive. And so
Hmm.
those kind of lessons, though we learn them, I grew up as a Catholic in a pretty strict Catholic family. You learn those lessons, but when you learn by action, boy, they're really impactful. So that was very special. And then when I was taking care of my mom, I was doing it because it was the right thing to do. And my younger sister was there for a few weeks, but she had her own family and her own business in Michigan, so she had to leave. And the limo driver was a Middle Eastern man. And when he saw her crying, he asked what was going on. And she told him. And this guy let out a passionate monologue about how important it was to take care of our parents, no matter what the cost would. He said, I almost lost my family, my job, and my marriage because I took care of my father for 2 long years and I regret nothing. And when she told me that story, it also had an impact on me. And it was also a story that had impact 44 years later. So it was amazing. So those were kind of the bookends that had an influence on what I did, but also it gave me, I guess, support for supporting that I was doing the right thing. So that was
I mean, you are doing the right thing, or you were doing the right thing when you were taking care of them, because how you described your mom, because this book is really about your mom, and it's really about both of you, though.
yeah,
You learned, and I don't want to give too much out of the book, but you learned tremendously, even from the story, even about the Christmas and giving out the oranges, because you're now a sculptor and you do things. You do things for your family in terms of creating and sculptings and giving to your family. And you, in terms of how you took care of your mom, even when you were not well. And you even learned from the person, the caretaker that's taking care of your mom, you learned from her also how to take care of and give. So throughout the book, I can see different glimpses of the importance of caregiving, the importance of giving, the importance of ensuring that your family is okay.
right, right. And also, if you go into, let's say, an endeavor like this, if you go with an open heart and an open mind, because it's physically, mentally, and emotionally a very tough job.
Yes.
But I have a motto, and some people say it's corny, but for me, it's worked in my whole life, and it is find the joy. So whatever adventure I jump into, I look for the positive in it. And
Yes.
it just takes so much of the weight out of it. And so I will continue to find the joy.
Yes. Let's touch on the best medicine.
My mother had this near death experience shortly after her 89th birthday. And part of it was she was just not happy. She wasn't happy in her current situation. She was in the house that we all grew up in. But we had some people living there that were supposed to oversee household duties and keep her company. They weren't caregivers. She didn't need that kind of help at that time. But she was not happy. She did not get along with them, and they didn't get along with her, but they kind of kept their side quiet because they had a pretty good deal living in our house for free rent. And so they kind of hid the tension from all of us when we would visit. But my mom sensed it. I said she had a very accurate BS detector. And that redlined, I think, early on. And mom could be pretty difficult. So I knew that from experience. And so once that her BS detector went off, it was very tough to get her back onto your side. So that just added to the tension. So that was difficult.
For Mark, you also sensed it because the way you started the book when you went to the house and you saw Tweedledee and Tilda, the way you sensed it. So you also have that sensor for people with their BS.
Yes, I was lucky to inherit that from my mother. Though I've had some blind spots, I admit that. So my detector wasn't as sharp as hers.
Well, she have lived a longer life, right? So yeah, it's expected.
I think mine, like a fine wine, will mature as
Yes.
the years go on. We can only hope.
I am my mother's son.
My mother was a shopaholic, and she would drag us, and I have to say, at least me personally, drag us out to her shopping sprees. Now, she worked full time. She was a proofreader for the largest newspaper in New Jersey. So she worked the night shift. So her days were free to shop. And that was her addiction. She didn't drink. She didn't smoke. She didn't swear. Her only addiction really was shopping. And I think that was part of perhaps her, which she hid pretty well in my younger years. And so I think that filled the void for her when she wanted some more love or something. She put it into shopping. So, and she was a good shopper. She did well. She didn't buy unnecessary things until later on in life, but she was very good, and she had 6 kids. And my dad was a chemist, and he was concerned about her shopping and feeding and clothing and taking care of the 6 kids. But they both did a great job, and she never went too nuts because she made her own money to do the shopping. So she was good with that. But I have to admit, I like shopping. I like buying. I don't like shopping. If I decide I want something, I go and get it. I don't have to sit and mosey for 3 or 4 hours looking for something. So that's one thing I differ from my mom.
But with her also, you speak about her depression, and it stems also from the fact that she was having marital problems, and she used that as an avenue to escape it. So it's probably sometime a way to escape what is happening at home.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it ended well for both of them because, both of them really, after everything that they had gone through, both of them were still there for each other.
Yes.
In the end.
Which was another thing that I would say be planting the seed, because my mom really stepped up. They had a contentious marriage, but they were Catholics, and until death were they going to part. And then when my dad, he was suffering from heart disease, and he did not want to go into the hospital, and the doctor,
she took care of him.
Yeah, she stepped up and became his caregiver. So that was fabulous, and it was wonderful to see. And so she led by example, which was a lovely thing for us to learn from instead of just lecturing. Both my parents really set a very good example for all of us.
Mark, you need to now find out why is it that you like shopping, because let me tell you, you also did well shopping for your mom with her dresses. Okay.
Well, yeah. Once I think I did better online. When you have a middle-aged guy shopping for his 90-year-old mother in the ladies section in the shopping centers, a lot of strange looks. Yeah. Anyway, very uncomfortable.
Oh my goodness. Let's talk about single, 55 and living with my mother.
Yeah. Well, that was something I never had planned, because I left for college and never really moved back into my house. I would be there on a couple of, I think, the first summers, and then a Christmas break, and that was it. So the rest of the time, I left. It wasn't because I didn't want to live at home, but I was, independent, and I did well in college and had a great job waiting for me when I graduated and stuff like that. So to move back at 55 was kind of interesting, but I moved back for a good reason. But, especially now we hear a lot of people who can't get jobs and they're living in their parents' basements and things like that. So I kind of got a kick out of telling people, but it didn't help because I was single, and I never married and never had any children. And my first child was my mom. So when I met a new neighbor who was an attractive psychiatrist, I knew she was a doctor. I didn't know she was a psychiatrist at the time. I introduced myself and I said, I'm 55, single, and I live with my mother. You're going to want me on your couch for nothing else, for a good, case study. So we became really good friends, and that was pretty funny. But I never did lay on her couch and pour myself. I'll save that for another chapter.
Oh my God, time no charm.
All right. So the professionals in the caregiving game say that you must take breaks. You have to, again, because it's mentally, physically, and emotionally a tough job. You have to be in the best shape you can to be able to take care of your loved one, or if you're a professional, certainly to take care of your patient. And so there's a reason why they say on an airplane, when the oxygen masks drop, you must put yours on before you tend to your child. And so being a guy, I was like, I can handle all this. I can handle the stress, and I'm not going to worry about it. Well, it got to me, and I ended up, I had to go through 3 emergency surgeries, and they couldn't pinpoint that it was stress related, but it was pretty much stress related. The irony of the whole thing is my mom almost outlived me.
Yep.
By being a stubborn, tough guy caregiver, I literally almost died in the hospital. So that was interesting. But the hospital experience was pretty interesting. I mean, it had some benefits to it. Not only were the drugs really good, but it gave me a better understanding of what my mother was going through, because needed help walking. I needed help with going to the bathroom. I did have to wear diapers for a point of time. And my mother had a little bit of dementia, so she would see visions of things. And I didn't put this part in the book, but it was an important part. I started having a little hallucinations because of the drugs were powerful as heck. And I don't have an addictive personality. I could have easily been, I guess, gotten addicted to them because I was in there for over 2 months total.
Right.
On these heavy pain-killing drugs. So I just remember one time I was envisioning, I was having a conversation with somebody and who wasn't there. And when I opened my eyes and I saw they weren't there, I continued the conversation because I didn't want to be rude, just in case they were there. That's where my mind was going, which was fun.
Oh my God.
And then some of the same things. My mother was drinking a lot of Ensure, and she was drinking a protein mix called Prostat. And I was given those same things in the hospital. So we were like on the same path for a little while. It was very interesting. So that bumped up my empathy for what my mother was going through, which was a good lesson. So again, if you go in with an open heart and an open mind, you'll find the benefits, I think, in any situation. So that actually ended up being a good, I guess, a good benefit to go through that.
I want to know, Mark, having that experience that you did in the hospital, what did you learn about yourself?
Well, I had a goal. I wanted to get back as soon as possible because I had a job to do, which was still caring for my mom. So that helped me try to heal quicker and get up and walk and overcome and get out of that hospital because I was in there way too long. But my goal was to get out. So I kept pushing to get out until they finally released me. So I think I don't know if that was something new. I've had that in me, I think, since I was a kid. I have a very strong will. Once I set my mind to something, I give it 100%. And then, I made a joke when I met my niece's future father-in-law. He asked me what I did. And I said, I started 5 nonprofit businesses. And he looked at me like I was Jesus. And I said, but none were intended to be nonprofit. And so, I went in, I tried these things. And I'll say, as Nelson Mandela says, I don't lose, I learn.
Yes.
So I learned from that experience, and I would take it to the next and then take it to the next. So actually the last one I did was I started a snack food company with my brother to honor my father and his invention, which was this half-pop popcorn snack we called Grandpa Poe's Originals. And that was one business that actually was pretty successful for a while. All those so-called failures actually paved the way for us to figure out what we're doing, and it really helped educate us and make something that was worthwhile.
Okay, interesting. I want you to tell persons out there who are struggling to take on the aspect of caregiving for a loved one, whether it's family, friend, what would you say to them that they need to have going in?
Well, I would say you need an open heart and open mind. But I would also say that if you're not comfortable doing it, because it can be a very messy job. There were no lines that I did not cross with my mother because I assumed the role of caregiver and said, any uncomfortable part, I had to get over it and on with it because I had a job to do. So, but if you can't put that aside, because you don't want your loved one to feel like a burden.
Right.
You want to make them feel guilty for putting you in that position. You have to look like you want to do this. It's an honor to do it, certainly. But you have to, again, find some joy in it. And so if you can't assume that because you want to leave any of that uncomfortableness out of the room, don't do it. You can support your loved one in other ways. 2 out of the 6 of us did not do any hands-on, which was fine. They helped in other ways. You have to kind of find what your wheelhouse is. Stay within that. So if you're there and you're present and you show your loved one that you love them, but you're not comfortable changing a diaper or sponge bathing, find a pro who can do that.
Yes.
And so that would be the main thing. And again, take breaks. If you are taking this on, you got to take the breaks to keep your own health healthy.
So in the book, for those who are interested in getting it, so in the book, there are aspects of mental health issues that we can look at. There are aspects of introspection where we have to look into ourselves to figure out what's happening. Why am I like this? And as Mark did, he went to some of his childhood experiences to garner those and to say, okay, this is what's happening from our child. That's why I'm like this now. And there are different aspects of his life working with his mom where he had to figure out why she was the way she was. And they explored that. So there are generational things that happened that you found out late also. He found out late also about. And the importance of caregiving, the importance of being there for your loved ones. And the book touches, there's humor, but it touches about very, very important things that when I was reading it, I was like, I really do think families need to take a step back and try to figure out certain things that are happening in their family line. What happened? How many persons did it happen to, and what do we need? What do we need to do about it to break it from continuing to happen?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I would say is both of my parents were pretty funny. So humor, luckily, they passed that down to all of their kids.
Okay.
And so humor played a huge role. It's also a good stress reliever.
Yes.
But another one of my goals was to make my mother laugh at least once a day. And she ended up making me laugh quite a bit. So that also luckily humor comes to me pretty easily. So if you have to do that and you're not a funny person, it may be a little stressful, but luckily, we had a good time. And again, roll with the punches because there was a point where she couldn't remember my name. And out of her 6 kids, I was the only one there doing the 24/7 caregiving. And I'm the only one she forgot. So I do have a chapter in a book saying that rubbing one's butt can cause amnesia because I'm the one rubbing her tush several times a day after visiting the Commode. And so
that can really affect someone because someone can take that to heart and be affected by it. You have to have thick skin.
Or roll with the punches because they're still your mother. They still love you. Hopefully, and you love them.
You said hopefully.
There are some people with mother issues. So
yes. No, I know.
But they're a little slower. They may not be totally with it. They're going to be more fragile, and so you just got to take it in stride. And so that's where the empathy comes in. You got to say, I have to put myself in their shoes. My mom's case, in her non-slip safety socks. She never wore shoes again. But also, I think as a son, I took kind of a romantic approach to caring for my mother because I grew up with 3 sisters. So I learned to do things more than put the toilet seat down. And so I knew how to take care of her hair and the sponge bathing and stuff like that was a little uncomfortable at first. But I saw that, it was necessary. I wanted my mom to be clean and not smelling bad. So she got a sponge bath twice a day. But I also know she loved going to the beauty parlor once a week to treat herself. So she got a shampoo and set and had her nails done. And I don't know when the last time she went to the beauty parlor. When she would visit me in Hollywood, I would take her to my friend's salon in Beverly Hills, and she got the movie star treatment there. And I knew she really liked that. She loved the pampering.
Yeah.
So I decided to recreate that at home. And so I created a day of beauty. One day a week, we would try to recreate that salon treatment at home where she got her normal sponge bath, but I shampooed her hair. I soaked her feet in Epsom salt. She got a full body massage. When I tended to any medical issues, coated her with lotion. And then I blow dried her hair and put it either in a ponytail or braids. And then put her in the wheelchair and I would roll her into the kitchen for breakfast. And on the way into the kitchen, that we had a big mirror in front of the dining room. And the first day of beauty, I didn't think that much of a big deal. But I also did her nails, and then I finished it off with some nice bright red lipstick to match her nails.
Because she loved the red nails.
Yes. So I parked her in front of that mirror and leaned in, and she was just beaming.
Nice.
And I leaned in cheek to cheek and said, "Who's that pretty girl?" And I could just see that she was just gaga over herself. Now, I don't know. That was another lesson I learned. I don't know the last time she went to a beauty parlor. I don't know the last time she looked in a mirror and liked what she saw.
Nice.
She liked what she saw that day. And it had a profound effect on her and on me as well.
Nice.
It's lovely. So every morning I parked her in front of that mirror and asked her questions. So that was very important and a good lesson for me because wanting to feel pretty does not end at 90.
That's good. Yep. Definitely so. And it helps also to uplift her spirit.
Yes, and it was infectious because everybody who saw her saw how happy she was
Yes.
and how well cared for she was, and
Cool.
they all got a lot of joy out of it as well. So it was a really lovely, I didn't think that much of it at first. I said it's a nice thing for a son to do, but it ended up being a very special moment.
It is. I think you did quite well. You did quite well, Mark.
I tried.
I want you to tell the listeners where is it that they can find you? Where can they find your book? If they want to have a conversation with you or email you, how can they get in contact?
Well, if they Google a cup of tea on the Commode, we're everywhere. We have the website is a cup of tea on the commode.org. I have a YouTube channel with a lot of funny videos, probably about 180 of those things, so people can go to there. But we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, everything. The book is available. Amazon has all four formats. So it's a paperback, large print paperback, ebook, and also the audiobook, which I recorded. So they can get it at Amazon. Barnes& and Noble has them as well. And I think a lot of our distributor, our publisher is great, and the distributor has the book all over the world. So it's quite cool. And then it's also going to be published in China and South Korea, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so it's nice. So cup of tea on the Commode at Gmail is the email address. And so if they Google that, they'll see a ton of things.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing your story or part of your story with us and the experience that you had with your mom and tending to her until she passed. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Okay, thank you, Jade. Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you. You give me an opportunity to keep my mom in the present. And so that's your gift to me. So I appreciate
Aw.
that.
Oh, thank you so much. You're welcome. You're most welcome. And I want to say thank you so much to my listeners for continuing to listen to The Unfiltered by Jade. And we will be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you.